It is difficult to imagine how a person can talk with a demon. How do you communicate? And what do you say? Well, I received some great teaching. Yes, I did. Those whom I value the most love Our Lady. An exorcist friend, who was older than I, and who died some time ago, once asked the devil, "Tell me, what are the qualities of the most Holy Mother Mary that make you so angry and cause you so much pain?" He answered, "She is the purest of everyone, and I am the filthiest. She is the humblest, and I am the most rebellious. She is the most obedient, and I never obey." Once during an exorcism, I asked, one of your colleagues gave this response regarding Our Lady to one of my colleagues. Now tell me, what is the fourth quality of Our Lady that makes you angry? He responded, "She always wins because she has never been touched by the slightest shadow of sin." What words? Effectively, just a glance from Our Lady will send off the demon. There is also that episode at Lourdes, when at a certain point, some voices cried out to Bernadette, "Run away, run away." They were cries from the demon. It was enough that Our Lady glanced in that direction, and immediately they disappeared. I recall a time when a demon gave Father Candido a lesson. He was liberating a person and saying to the demon, "Come on, go. The Lord has prepared a nice heated box for you, where you shall not feel the cold, where you shall remain very warm." And the devil imperiously responded, "You do not know anything, you do not understand anything." The meaning that the Lord was commanding him to teach the exorcist a lesson. It is not he that created hell. We created hell. He did not even think of it. The existence of hell was not in his plans. The devil was saying that God created only good things. No theological work states that God did not create hell, but none say that he did. Precisely none. What an incredible lesson for one like Father Candido, who taught theology and sacred scripture. As in every work, there are things that give joy and things that embitter. What embitters me most are those people who are tied solely to the world and not to heaven, who are attracted solely to material interests, who seek physical healing but take no steps towards spiritual healing. By contrast, what satisfies me most is when I see people unite themselves to God, convert, return to the sacraments, and then join a prayer group. Anyway, I have always been a friend of liberty. I advise you do well by joining a prayer group, but without attaching yourself too much to it, because where there are human creatures, there are human defects. Therefore, if at a certain point you see that you are not comfortable in a certain group, go to another. Always feel free when doing good things. Many times, it happens that in a group, someone wishes to take the upper hand, to overwhelm the others and take command, and then the group is no longer what it was at first. There is no longer serenity, love, and peace as before. This means it is time to change. It is always useful to be supported by a prayer group. Living in a religious community, which is living in a group, goes back to St. Pachomius. St. Pachomius initially lived as a hermit, and then he became a Cenobite, part of a group of religious who live in a monastery. At first, each one lived on his own, but then they joined together under the direction of a spiritual leader, and from that, a religious community was born. St. Pachomius had lived first as a hermit, and then he thought that it was better to change, because many other hermits were coming to him for advice, and so they decided to remain and live near him. Then he built a monastic house with a boundary wall, an enclosure. Once one of his confreres told him that the wall was too narrow, that he should make it wider, and St. Pachomius snapped at him, "You don't understand anything." But then, upon reflecting, he realized that that was a brutal response to give one's own brother. He understood that charity is exercised when one is in a group, in a family, at work, or any place where one is in contact with others, because in these situations, there is more opportunity to practice it. Also, in groups, there are so many opportunities to be charitable, and there is so much need for charity. Returning to the discourse on evil, it is difficult to understand why some of the consecrated do not accept the possible extraordinary action of the devil. So many priests do not believe in the devil, even bishops, when they do not wish to nominate exorcists, or when they do not believe in extraordinary demonic action. We exorcists say to them, "You do not believe in the gospel." The gospel speaks clearly. Let us focus on the exorcisms Jesus performed in public. He did them on the street, in the synagogue, wherever he happened to be, and then he gave the power to the apostles, and they continued them. Now we must do them hidden and in private. For me, St. Mark expresses it best. These signs will accompany those who believe. In my name, they will cast out demons. They will speak in new tongues. They will pick up serpents. And if they drink any deadly thing, it will not hurt them. They will lay their hands on the sick, and they will recover. Mark chapter 16, verses 17 to 18. In virtue of this passage, during the early years of Christianity, everyone did exorcisms. Then, unfortunately, when the Latin Church tried to regulate everything, it instituted the sacramental of exorcism, reserving it to bishops. Since then, only they have the power to nominate exorcists among the priests, or they can exercise it themselves. The Catholic Orthodox Church has never accepted this practice. With them, whoever wishes to exorcise does so. I see it like this. With the institution of the sacramental, a monopoly was given to the bishops to follow Christ's mandate. Those who believe will cast out demons. Since all believers are not bishops, one could get around this obstacle with the prayers of liberation, which have the same objective but are not official prayers of the Church. While exorcism is a public prayer, liberation is private, prayed with the simple authority of one's own faith in the word of Jesus Christ. I have always said, speaking of the nations where there are no exorcists, to pray the prayers of liberation, above all, if one is a priest. But the laity can also say them. And there are many places where prayer groups, especially those of the Catholic Charismatic Renewal, say them. If they are done with true faith, they obtain results. Once, at an international congress of exorcists, we listened to a conference on exorcisms and the Jews that was inspired by Jesus' question, "By whom do your sons cast them out?" Luke chapter 11, verse 19. From his question, one can infer that the Jews also had exorcists. It is spoken of only here, however, and the Old Testament does not cite exorcisms. Therefore, I would say that true and proper exorcism was established by Jesus, who came to destroy the works of Satan. This means that Jesus also wishes to destroy the diabolical work that manifests itself by tormenting people. Possessions, vexations, obsessions, and infestations. Jesus desires the destruction of these things. Jesus wants liberty, liberation. He judges a person's needs, case by case, however, and he considers that spiritual necessities are more important than temporal necessities. Therefore, I repeat that true and proper exorcism began with Jesus.